What's happening, financial coaches? Pete here. Hey, I want to talk to you briefly today about authority and respect, and not in a police or law enforcement type of way or teacher kind of way, but really the authority that is are earned. Right? It's trust that you know something, and I'm bringing this up because I have seen financial coaches do it. I've seen people do it. I've seen trainers do it. I've seen educators do it. And, I'm not trying to beat up on anyone here, but in a couple cases, I have seen life coaches, and I have some friends that are doing this, and I'm going to leave them nameless, but they will say, "Hey, listen, you can make money. You can make your dreams happen. You don't have to hustle and grind. You don't have to put your nose to the grindstone. You don't have to work long hours. You don't have to burn the candle at both ends. You can make a lot of money." And in fact, one of these people that I know has a presentation called "Money Does Grow on Trees." And, in me discussing the idea of making money with some of these people, it's come up that they are struggling with these presentations not because the information is wrong factually. I don't think it is. The reason is because they don't have any authority in it because they're not doing it. In fact, on one hand, the my life coach friend, he or she made a whole long video about that the world isn't fair, that the universe isn't fair, that he or she isn't making money doing the things that he or she loves, right? And in fact, my other friend who did this presentation, which is actually very similar to a presentation that I do called like how to make extra money while keeping your full-time job. And she was wondering, why am I getting traction with that? Why am I being flown to places to give this presentation? Why am I being asked to give this presentation in front of large groups or conventions and conferences, right? We have very similar presentations. I would say the devil's in the details on these, but she's not getting the traction, right? She's giving this presentation away for free. She's kind of begging, borrowing, and stealing so that she can get in front of people to give her presentation. And the reality is that she isn't doing the things that she says people should do in them, right? She's saying that it's easy to get money, and yet she's asking me how to make more money, right? And I'm not trying to poo-poo this because I think the ability to ask is the first big step in actually making progress to things. I did it too, right? There are lots of things that I don't understand fully, right? I've kind of dabbled in real estate investing, but I am no expert in it. And I've learned the hard way on some of my own mistakes, right? So specifically, for example, I won't buy a condo or townhouse again because I don't want a rental unit within a homeowners association because the homeowner association fees are very unpredictable and they usually only go one direction. So that was a lesson learned. And so as I kind of continue to look at that, I'm trying to leverage the people that are doing it well, right? So that they can say, "Hey, don't do this," or "Don't work with this real estate agent," or "Work with this," or "Subscribe to these notifications on property," or "Make friends with these people who are going to let you know of things before they get listed," right? So that inside scoop comes from people who are practicing it because they live it, and now they have authority, right? They have authority to tell me, as opposed to someone who still gives me the same information, the factual information, but isn't practicing it, isn't living it, isn't doing it, doesn't really have firsthand knowledge on it, right? There are a lot of people out there telling you how to make money, and I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm not saying that people that are talking about side hustles or starting a business, that anything about their presentations are wrong. But what I'm saying is that if they're not saying how they did theirs, if they can't answer the questions that go beyond the presentations, like, for example, when you bring in your first $1,000, what do you have to think about in taxes? Because let's say you're just billing them directly, how much do you withhold? Well, if they're not doing it, they may have the answer, but in all likelihood, they'll say, "Well, I'm not sure because I haven't done that," right? It's kind of like asking someone for advice on buying a home if they've never bought a home before. What's the process like at the title company or a closing? Well, if they've never gone through it, they can probably tell you factually, well, both parties will show up or the representatives will show up. Sometimes maybe they will pre-sign and things like that, blah, 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 blah. It's scheduled to take about an hour. But having gone through it a few times, I can tell you, well, sometimes it'll take 40 minutes. Sometimes it'll take 3 hours. Sometimes it's a lot easier to do it during business hours on a weekday so that you can get customer service representatives on the phone from title company and title search companies and insurance companies and the mortgage companies, as opposed to doing it at a weird hour on the weekend when if there's an issue, you can't get people on the phone. So what I'm saying is that being a practitioner of it, living it, breathing it, earning the respect and authority on it is where you get authority, not from knowing the answer, but from living the answer. I bring this larger point up and I waste 5 minutes of your time on this because this is important in financial coaching. It's not a requisite to be able to give information on anything, but if you really want to be seen as an authority on any particular topic or even just in the lifestyle in general, I think you need to embrace it. So for me, it was really hard to talk about people going out and getting a second income or a side income or a seasonal job if I wasn't doing it myself. So it wasn't the only reason I did it. I wanted some additional money. So I started doing it. And what ended up happening is that instead of me preaching to you that you should go out and make more money, I was saying, hey, one thing you might think about is making more money. And here's how I did it. And here's what I learned so that it's not disruptive to the rest of my life, or that I can fit it in, or that I found stuff that was only during the week so that I didn't burn my weekends on it. Or here's how I got a part time, seasonal, temporary job so that I knew there were bookends to it, so that I had that mental freedom of knowing, hey, after the next 6 weeks, it's going to be done. Right. So for instance, I did things like transcribe TV shows for a while when this was a thing. And it was old TV show seasons. And I knew that once I got through all the episodes, my project was done. And so it wasn't something where it's ongoing. It wasn't like a prisoner mentality where it's like, I don't know when this is going to end. I don't know when I'm going to be financially free. I knew that there was a certain amount of money that was going to come in if I did this job. And my incentive was just to get it done. And so when people are saying, listen, I'm really motivated to make some money right now, but I don't know that I can work 60 hours a week forever. Well, how about what if you work 60 hours a week for the next 3 weeks, right? And then you go back to your 40-hour week. Would that be okay? Well, here's how I did it. And the authority comes from that. The authority comes from me being able to give you more details than just the high level information, the factual information that you could go to a blog post or read or work with a financial advisor or get from, a friend or a family member. All of that top level information is going to be the same, but it's me telling you what I did and where I was successful or where I wasn't, right? It's showing you the pitfalls as well as the successes that gives me authority in this. And that's what helps, really give people the information that they need to run with it, to feel comfortable about it, right? So that they have that idea of what that path looks like, as opposed to just kind of going into the dark, into the fog. The more context that you can give people, the more heads up that you give people, the more likely they are to go down that path. So that's why I bring this up, because authority comes from living the answer. Now, I want to broaden this out to other things, right? If you're going to tell people to live right sized or live within their means, I think you need to do it. It's not something that you necessarily have to be able to demonstrate right this moment or forever or in perfect balance. We're all going to have issues, right? But it's one of those things where, if you're going to say, hey, this is my specialty, this is my wheelhouse, this is what I really want to focus on, then I think you should really lean into that, embrace it, and live it so that you can speak from the heart on it, right? So that you can speak from experience on it. And that's going to give you authority, and people are really going to want to listen. So for me, the things that people ask me to answer for them the most are things that I've already done. Right? No one's calling me and asking me for information on mopeds because I've never ridden one. I've only seen them. So I'm not going to be able to tell you what they're like or how they fit into your life or what it's like to maintain, right? You're going to go to that authority on it. But I might be able to read a blog post and give you the information. So, whether it's paying off debt or saving an emergency fund or starting a retirement account or whatever it is, the things that you want to tell people to do, that you want to help convince them of, do yourself, live, embrace it so that you're speaking from experience, that you can attest to the value of these things. So that's just my suggestion. In the Google world, they call it dog fooding. You eat what you sell. So, hopefully that will help you embrace it and also improve and increase your authority on these things so that people will seek you out for those answers. That's it. See you later.